Stranger Russ back. I am at Meg's Point. Today I'm going to be walking our Cedar Island Trail. If you saw our program from a couple of weeks ago, I did walk this trail, but there wasn't a lot in bloom. In fact, the only thing that we really saw in bloom was the shad bush, which at the time I did not remember its name. So if you go back and watch that video, the white flowers that I'm sitting there saying I should really know what this is, those are shad bush, or serviceberry is the other name for them. Now, I'm going to show you, that's the trail we're going to be going down. Pan over here a little bit. And in order to do this, I'm going to flip the camera. There we go. So, this is our Cedar Island Trail. And we're going to see what sorts of things are in bloom now that we didn't see the first time down. Now, you can see these flowers here. This is our Asian honeysuckle. This is an invasive species. Okay. There's a lot of it in bloom up here. I have never found our native honeysuckle here at Hammonasset. There may be a place in the park that we have it, but I don't know it. All right, so our first time down this trail, I don't think this tree had leafed out yet. Really beautiful tree. This is a basswood or linden. And an easy way to identify the linden, if you look at the end of the leaf here, it's really lopsided. This one goes pretty high and this one is really low. So when you get that really lopsided leaf, not sure what just happened there with my remote, but that lopsided leaf tells you that this is a linden tree. Or basswood, again, basswood, linden, same tree. Now let's look over here. Look at all these pretty flowers. This is really cool. All right. These are wild geraniums. And if you look, they're all through this whole area. You can see these beautiful flowers. All that wild geranium there. And then if you look here, these nice big leaves. And then down here, this one is, I'm blanking on the name, golden. I think this is golden Alexander. I'm going to have to check that. More geraniums. Look at how many geraniums. Look how far back. There are geraniums all through this area. Really cool. So there are over 400 species of geranium in the world. So it's not surprising that we have some here. The tallest ones can get about 4 feet tall, so twice as tall as ours. Ours are about 2 feet here. So that's really cool. Now you remember we looked at these the first time down this trail. Those are the sassafras trees. And in the back there, I don't know if you can see it, is our serviceberry. Let's go back up here a little bit. I want to show you the serviceberry, which was in bloom, the beautiful white flowers, and hardly any leaves. This blooms before it really leaves out. So that's the serviceberry right there. It's called serviceberry because it flowered in the springtime. So back then, if someone passed away, they would keep the body because they couldn't dig a hole in the ground. And when it thawed out, that's when they would go and they would dig. So the morticians knew that they should hold on to the bodies, they couldn't have the service until that tree bloomed. And it's called shad bush, again, because it blooms in the spring, and that's when the shad run. So when you saw the shad bush blooming, you would be able to you could tell that the shad were running. All right, let's continue down here. There's some nice ferns. I don't think we saw a lot of fern the first time we did this. Lots of ferns now, though. Sassafras, which now we can actually see the leaves. I might do a whole program just on sassafras. It gets 3 different leaves. So this is, in Connecticut, we call this the dinosaur track. Most places it's a ghost, the little arms and the head of the ghost. And then it gets just a simple oval, like that one. And then you get a mitten, which I'm not seeing any mittens here. Oh, there's a mitten. Take a look at that one. So that's a mitten. So you get a mitten, a ghost, and an oval. 3 different shaped flowers on the same tree. I think we looked at this on the way out last time too. This is a hickory, mockernut hickory. A good way to identify some trees is to look on the ground and see what sort of nuts you can find. So there's a hickory. It looks like some insect was living in that one. Probably why it's not broken open and the squirrel didn't eat it. Talked about this, the hackberry, on the way out. Birds love the berries of the hackberry. It is an edible plant as well. I'm going to have to look up the golden Alexander and see if there's any medicinal uses for it. So here we have a really nice old crabapple tree. This part of the park, mainly the Willard Island Trail, was an orchard. And there were apples, peaches, and pears out there. So you can still find the trees. And I will be doing a program on Willard Island. But I want you to look at how rotten out this is, rotted out. There are lots of holes there. Those are insect holes. A woodpecker, the hole wouldn't be quite so perfect. But a woodpecker may poke around in there trying to get those insects. And even though the center of the tree is completely rotted out, the tree is still alive. So the center heartwood, that's just the structure that holds the tree up. The nutrient exchange is on the outer section of the tree. So it can survive if the inside rots out, as long as the nutrients can flow up and down in the tree. There's a high tide bush that we looked at last time as well, and another beautiful cedar, eastern red cedar, which is actually in the cypress family. So you can see a whole program on cedars if you go to our website, meggspointnaturecenter.org. You can see a whole program on them. Oh, can you guys see that? There's a glossy ibis. Look at the reddish head, the green wings. This is, I hope, let's see if I can zoom in more. That is so cool. They have a curved beak. And that curved beak, they stick it down. You see them poking into the mud. And they're looking for snails. That is so neat. So it uses that long curved beak to go down. The males and females are both the same color in this one. So I can't tell whether that's a male or female, but look at the reddish head, the green back. They're very iridescent, which means in different light, the color is going to show up differently. So that's just so cool that that's right there like that. I can't see what you guys are seeing very well, so hopefully you're seeing this. For me, I'm just getting a lot of glare. Very neat. I'm going to zoom out because my hand's awful shaky. I mean, zoom back in. There we go. All right. And if you look over there to the left of that osprey platform, I believe that you can see a male osprey on the post right next to it. Now, I did a program on osprey. I'm going to do another program on the osprey where we're going to spend more time. I really love the osprey. There's so much to talk about with them. And we'll do it so that we can show some videos of the osprey. So I hope that you're all noticing the difference between the last program I did. If you don't notice the difference, go back and look at the last video. Look at how much more green there is. There's a wood thrush. Now, it's ducked down behind a rock. I'm going to see if we can get a view. It's a beautiful rusty brown bird. It's a bottom feeder. They feed on the forest floor. I can hear it. It's still there. It's in cover. There's actually two. One just flew over here. I don't know if you could see that color. Now it's behind poison ivy. Now here's something really interesting. Take a look at this. This is a small white oak tree, and it is covered in whitewash. This entire area is covered in whitewash. You see all those white, that means bird poop. Okay? So that's bird scat. If you look overhead, not a lot of great perching places. Maybe there, or probably up there. That means some birds are using this as a place to roost for the night. And they, everything goes to the bathroom. All right, let's see. There's some more wild geranium back there. Oh, this is, I think this is a wild strawberry. Those are cool. I don't know that I've seen these on this trail before. So that's really neat. Let me just see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a wild strawberry. They have little thorns on them. They grow across the ground. Nice big flowers there. We're not going to see many strawberries though, because all the animals like to eat them. Another nice oak there. Look at how thick. All the leaves are out. Lots of leaves are out. I'm going to pan up, show you the canopy. The tops of the trees are called the canopy. And I'm going to do this walk again in a couple of weeks. That is going to be a much thicker canopy. In a couple of weeks, there will be more leaves up there. The leaves will all be larger, be nice and thick. So I really want you guys to compare what the first time I went down the trail looked like to this time going down the trail. And there's another beautiful flower. This one's going by right now, but we still have some in bloom. This is a wild azalea or a swamp azalea. Wild pink azalea. Lots of common names for these things. And you can see there are lots of them. They go all the way back, way off in the back there. Let's see if I can zoom in. My gyro stabilizer for my phone, the battery I think just died because it's not stabilizing anymore. So I have to do this by hand. But you can see this is a beautiful, they like kind of moist ground. So you don't typically see these in a really dry forested area. And here's another cool thing to look at. So this, one of my favorite plants because it produces blueberries, and I love to eat blueberries. That little flower right there will become a blueberry. So this is a lowbush blueberry. There are high bush blueberries which grow 8 feet tall, and lowbush blueberries which don't get much more than 2 feet tall. So you can have different blueberry plants. I think we only have one species of high bush blueberry, but there are a few species of lowbush blueberry. And the lowbush blueberries have a much smaller berry. The high bush gets a bigger berry, more like something you would buy in the store, the type of blueberries you get at the store. But these lowbush blueberries, they're small, but they're fantastic in pancakes. All right, here's an invasive. This is the Russian olive or autumn olive. Okay, really, really fragrant flower, almost sickeningly sweet when it's in bloom. Not really pleasant for some people. It's just overly sweet. So this is the time. If you guys want to see wild geranium, get out here and hike the Cedar Island Trail, because there's more wild geranium along here. I want to remind everyone, Connecticut state parks are open. We still are asking you to follow the guidelines, keep your social distances. If you're laying your blanket out on the beach, we ask you to keep 15 feet between you and someone else, and that gives you a 6-foot buffer, but it allows others to walk past you. And if you can't keep 6 feet away, if you're on a trail, lots of people, then wear your masks. So we're going to take a look at this. This is poison ivy. I will not be touching it. When I was a kid, I did not get poison ivy, but now I do. And I want you to look, the berries are just starting to come out. Birds love these berries. They can eat the berries. It doesn't affect them. But if we touch the berries, touch any part of the plant, you can get the oils on you, and then you're not going to be happy. If you don't get it, you're younger or have never gotten it, that doesn't mean that it's okay to touch it, because if you continue to touch it, you can lose your immunity over time. And touching it could help you on your way. So you also don't want to think, oh, I'm immune, and then on the day that you find out you're not, will not be a good day. There's some more wild azalea in the back there, and some more geranium in the front. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there are osprey calling out in the marsh in that direction. That's pretty cool. It is a beautiful day here at the park. A little bit humid. We are expecting some showers, and we did have a few showers move through, but I'd say it's maybe 70 degrees, 68 to 70 degrees, so perfect temperature. Just a really pleasant day to be at the park. I also want you to notice this trail is fantastic trail, nice and smooth, good for carts, wheelchairs, baby strollers, whatever you have. Nice easy walk, not a very long walk either. All right, so here's a big oak tree. At least this is the top of a big oak tree. Looks like a black oak. I can tell by the acorns better than I can tell by the leaves of the bark. But if we look over here, you can see the top of this tree has snapped right off. Okay? Now, we actually like to have these big dead trees. This is a great habitat tree. Animals will nest in it. Cavity nesting birds like barred owls will use it. Bats might use it. Squirrels, raccoons. There are many animals that can den in or nest in a dead hollow tree. Also, it provides food insects will continue to eat it. It doesn't have to be laying on the ground. I don't know if you guys saw it. An osprey just flew over the top of the tree. I think I was pointing too low there. And it's circling over there. See, there's an osprey. That's so cool. But the tree, because it's standing upright, woodpeckers will continue to feed on the insects that are in the tree. So you don't want to cut every tree down. If a tree dies, leaving some up, it's great. It's a great habitat tree. It encourages different types of habitats. You can see that it looks like the tree really rotted out there before it snapped off. It was pretty rotten. Now, if you look at the program I did earlier, you'll see whether this was there or not. And I don't remember it here when I did the first walk by. The leaves are out on it, so it could have fallen last summer though, before all the leaves fell off. Or this could be this summer, a few weeks ago. But we'll have to check the video and see. Some nice white oaks. I have a program coming up I'm going to do on bark rubbings. I'm sure many of you have gone out in the past and put a piece of paper on a tree and then rubbed it with a crayon. Rub the paper and you get an imprint of the bark. I'm going to do an art program using tree rubbings. So that'll be a fun one. I'll show you guys how to do a tree rubbing, and then we'll see the different things that you can do once you've done that. Oh, there's a robin in the back there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I think it flew away on me while I was trying to zoom in. Oh, he just hopped behind the tree. So if you look, you can see out in the marsh, there's some green starting to grow up there. Looks like way out in the marsh. I'm sure you can't see it. An osprey just landed way on the other side of the marsh. At least I think it's an osprey. So we're starting to get some green across the marsh. Some areas are a little more green, lots of brown. This area is all going to fill in with some understory growth. So there are layers. I talked about the canopy. That's the top layer of a forest. The understory is the bottom layer of the forest. And there are some birds that stay in the understory, like the wood thrush we were talking about and the robin. And then there are some birds that never come down, like the warblers will stay up near the top. And then there are some that go up and down. Now, this trail used to be the road that got you to Cedar Island. That's why it's called the Cedar Island Trail. And there's an area out here that used to wash out. So sometimes you could get to Cedar Island. Sometimes it was open water between you and the island, so you weren't able to get out there. All right, now here's something I want to talk about. I talked about it a little bit when I did the Greenway Trail walk. But this is a sign of sea level rise. So the cedars, they like to be on the edge of a salt marsh. They grow really well there. But when the salt water starts overlapping their roots, then they don't like it and they die. So the salt water the sea level has risen to the point that these two cedar trees here are not able to survive, and they died. When I started here at Hammonasset, that twisted stump right there was a live white oak tree. And you could actually walk down here, you can see all the high tide bush, which grows on the edge of the salt marsh. This is where salt water reaches, because they like it. At the time, that high tide bush was out on the outer edge in front of that tree. This is 18, 19 years ago. And you could actually, this area was all just grass. You could walk right over to that tree. And it is no longer grass, no longer able to walk over there because now it's a salt marsh. All right, we talked about the piping plovers. So they are in full nesting right now. I really want to remind people, do not go into areas. If you see area closed, bird nesting, if you see a string from stake to stake out on a beach, that's called symbolic fencing. These are all methods to keep you away from the birds, to keep these birds safe. These are federally endangered. The piping plover, or plover, depending on how you pronounce it, are endangered species, and we really want to encourage their increase. We're getting a really small increase in their numbers, and we'd really like to see them come back like the osprey. The osprey were very, very low numbers in Connecticut. The lowest estimate that I've heard are 4 nesting pairs in the entire state of Connecticut, and now we've got 300 nesting pairs, so that's awesome. We have 5 nesting pairs right here at Hammonasset. We want to have the same thing happen with the plovers. I'm going to stand up a little higher here. So, if you see signs that look like that, just stay away. You don't walk over and read it. Just say, oh, there's a bird nesting area. I'm going to stay away. We're going to try and help the osprey. I want you to notice here, I think I talked a little bit about it the first time we came out here, but see those lines through the marsh? Those are animal trails. So there are a few different animals that could have left them. It could have been a raccoon or a skunk or something like that, because they do wander out here. More likely it's a smaller, maybe like a muskrat or a rodent or something like that. There's a trail that leads right over to that rock. I would guess that in the gap in that rock is probably an animal's home. I'm going to zoom in. Look at that little cedar tree growing right out of the top of that rock. Is that one of the coolest things you've ever seen? That tree's not going to be able to grow to a full-size tree because there's not enough soil there, but that's just neat. All right. I'm going to pan back over here, and at some point I'd like to do a program out there. We're going to have to do it safely though, because that area is, oh look, there's an oyster catcher. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to zoom in. The oyster catcher has a bright orange bill, bright feet, and they curve, they scurry around out there looking for oysters and other things to eat. But they nest in the same areas that the plovers do, and they're almost as rare, well, not almost as rare as the plovers, but a rare bird to see. So I wish I could see my camera. There's way too much glare here for me today, so I can't tell if I'm showing you or not, but that is really neat that there's an oyster catcher out there. All right, people are talking about the osprey. I'm going to go through, see if there are any other questions. If you go to megspointnaturecenter.org, we do have an osprey camera, and you can look. The osprey are hatching. So you can see, I know 2 of the eggs have hatched. We're expecting the 3rd one, I would say, in the next 2 to 4 days. They do lay them 2 to 3 days apart from each other, so then they should hatch out about the same. All right, let's see. Someone mentioned the robin's fast. Yes, he is. All right, if anyone has any questions, you can put them up at any time. I'd be happy to answer them. I'm listening to gulls. There's a lot of gulls out there right now. The thing that I was mentioning that I want to do a show on, out there is a fish weir, spelled with a W. The fishing weir, they were used by Native Americans to catch fish. Settlers used them too. So I'd like to go out there and do a little show about how they were used. But you can see it sort of looks like a stone wall going out into the water. All right. I think the robins are bigger this year. I don't know. What's the difference between a glossy ibis and an oyster catcher? So the oyster catcher has a bigger, heavier bill. It's going for shellfish. It can go for bivalves, bigger, stronger shells. The ibis has a slender, curved bill, not a powerful bill for breaking things open. It's for sticking it down into the mud and finding things to eat in the mud. Oyster catchers nest out here in the open. And as far as I know, I don't believe that we have any glossy ibis that nest in Connecticut. I'm going to have to look that up and see if there is a place in Connecticut where they nest. Someone says, I love how the marsh changes through the season. Yeah, look at, you can see the green. There's a little more green in some areas than others. But again, I'll do this walk in, say, another 2 weeks, and we should see things very differently then. All right, so the oyster catcher, I can see the bright orange bill. So if you guys see the buoy, it's behind that buoy to the left. That is so cool. Oyster catchers are just a fascinating animal. But if you've watched many of my episodes, I say, you know, my favorite animal. There's a reason why every animal is a favorite. I always like the oyster catcher's beak. It's like a fluorescent beacon it's carrying around with it. Name of the trail that I am on right now is the Cedar Island Trail. And hope everybody got to see that oyster catcher. I'm gonna pan over and show you Cedar Island. So the trail was the road to Cedar Island. So on the other side of that body of water, you can see there's a nice sandy beach over there. That is Cedar Island. And here at the park, this trail used to be the access. You could actually take your wagons and carts and whatever you needed out to get to Cedar Island by land. It was connected. There was a little spit over here. There was a solid connection. Sometimes it would wash out, and then sometimes it would be, you'd be able to cross. I know at one point in history, it got washed out, and in order to reestablish it, they chained cars together and attached them out there from one side to the other. These cars linked together so that the sediment would build up and they'd have a solid land again to cross. And if anybody is wondering, which nobody's asked the question, why are there two big boulders just sitting in the middle of the marsh? And that is because those were left by the glaciers. So these are glacial erratics, just a rock dropped by a glacier. Actually, I take that back. I may be on our back moraine. These may be part of the back moraine. So there is a moraine. Let's pan back over. So if you look at the fishing weir, the sort of stone wall looking thing over here, small stones. Behind that are some large, very irregular stones. So the fishing weir looks like a stone wall. They're all about the same size. The rocks that are beyond that are sort of big ones, small ones, up and down, and you go all the way along, that's part of Hammonasset's moraine. I'm going to do a whole program on a moraine coming up. So there is another moraine at the back side of Hammonasset. It's not as large as that moraine out there, but it goes through here, and these two rocks may have been part of that moraine. So I shouldn't call them a glacial erratic. They look like they're all by themselves, but if you start to look around, there's a rock there, there's a rock over here. So you're not normally going to find a lot of rocks out in a salt marsh. If everybody can hear, those are willets flying over my head. Single willet. If he slows down, I'll show you, but he's cruising back and forth. That's what they do to establish their territory. They fly over your head and squawk a lot. All right. I hope everybody's enjoyed this program. Does the osprey on the cam have a name? We have never named the osprey out on that camera. No, we haven't. Moraine show would be great. Need more earth science. Cool, we'll do that. I'm going to do the moraine trail this week. How's that? I was going to do it next week. I'm going to do the moraine trail this week. What do willets like to eat? I believe they're like a sandpiper. So they're eating stuff out of the mud. They've got a long beak, and they'll eat the little snails and insects, invertebrates that are in the mud. Okay, he went way far away. He is way over there now, so I can't show you the willet. All right, I hope you're all enjoying these programs. You can tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock for the next one. And I'll be doing these. We're going to continue them for now, Tuesdays to Fridays at 11 and 2 each day. All right, now there's another willet. And it's landing out. Oh, I don't know if I showed you in time. Willets are really cool. Right as they're landing, they leave their wings straight up. Just for a second, a pause where their wings are straight up, and you can see this beautiful white stripe on the underside of their wing. So, all right. I will see everyone tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'm going to do another one of my favorite animals, and I hope that you're enjoying these programs. Make sure you like us and follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then stop by the Meggs Point Nature Center website, meggspointnaturecenter.org. You can get lots of additional information on these videos, vocabulary words, word searches, puzzles, scrambles, all sorts of fun things for you to do. You can also connect to the DEEP's other facilities, Goodwin Conservation Center, Dinosaur State Park, Great Backyard Pursuit, and the Kellogg Environmental Center. Lots of great information put up by all of those organizations. So, I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for watching.